Welcome back to the second segment. I'm Jennifer Fierro, your broad podcaster right here in the Highland Lakes with this guy, Art Dlugach, the voice of the Llano Yellow Jackets. Art, you wanted to say something about the last segment?
I mentioned that I thought Lago Vista split its two baseball games against Blanco, but the Panthers beat the Vikings twice.
Okay. All right. Thanks for clarifying that. I know how much we value accuracy, so thanks for doing that. As promised, we're going to talk some football. And I think you want to start. Do you want to start with the 7-on-7 because it involves both Llano and Burnet, or do you want to start with the Smoking for Jesus and the 6-on-6?
Talk about Smoking for Jesus and the coaching edition.
Okay, and this I have this story already on TexasChalkTalk.com. Russ Roberts told me last week that he had been added to Charles Frazier Sr.'s staff at Smoking for Jesus beginning this fall. What I didn't know until today when I talked to Russ is the personal connection that he has with the Fraziers already. I didn't realize that Coach Frazier's son, Charles Jr., who just signed to play college football at, that story is also on TexasChalkTalk.com, Midway University in Kentucky. Well, Charles Jr. played 7th and 8th grade football for the Faith Junior High team for Coach Roberts. So they had that connection. And then Royale Brown, who's also a Smoking for Jesus kid, he had played for Faith Academy and played for Coach Roberts when Coach Roberts was the head coach of the Flames. So they had that history. Then Coach Roberts had spent some time in the fall watching their practices, and it's second nature to observe and then to say, here might be some things that you might want to do differently. And that's what started the conversation between Charles Frazier and Russ Roberts about possibly joining the staff in 2022. So the full details of that are on Texas Chalk Talk.
Well, my only addition to this is I met Coach Roberts, it seems like years ago, at the Marble Falls Athletic Club, and he had retired from coaching. And here he is this many years later coaching again. And I know that he did tell me that he missed it.
Oh, yeah.
And so when that happens to a coach or anyone, you want to get back in it.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy for him. And remind the viewers that the Smoking for Jesus, two-time state champion already.
Yeah.
So they have really got an outstanding program there, six-man.
I'm glad you said that. They are changing leagues. That was official for the track season. The Texas Athletic Independent Organizations, something like that. It's an acronym. It's TAO is the acronym. I had to look it up, but that story is also on TexasChalkTalk.com. The primary reason for the change, and this is what should excite fans, by changing leagues, they are able now to schedule, to have more freedom in scheduling opponents. So Coach Frazier has bulked up his 2022 schedule. They're going to play Veritas. They're playing Faith Academy in Week 3 at Faith Academy in Marble Falls this year. So there's going to be a lot better competition, and I think that the Eagles are ready for that. They want that, and it'll be very interesting to see how all of that pans out now that they are starting to prepare for that with 6-on-6, because they are a six-man team. So they're going to be playing 6-on-6. There are 3 Fridays in June where they are either hosting or they are going someplace to play. The first one is June 10th. They are playing at their home field at Smoking for Jesus. 5 o'clock, they're hosting the Bell County Angels. I will write up that story here as it gets a little closer. But here's what I like about it. It's not 6-on-6 like you see 7-on-7 where you're just throwing and catching the football.
Right.
They're going to put in game-like situations and game-like scenarios. So I may be driving down there on a Friday night just to check things out and see what they're doing.
She's everywhere. That's what you've got to understand.
Then of course, the following weekend, which is the 17th and 18th, they're going to be in a big 6-on-6 tournament in San Marcos at San Marcos Academy. And then they're going to end on the 24th at home against another team from Temple. They're either at home or at Temple. I forget where, but that's on June 24th.
When you say game-like situations, they might be running the ball.
Yeah, I mean,
but still no tackle.
Not that I'm aware of. I'll talk to Coach a little bit more about that and ask that. I would be surprised because I don't see them tackling without putting on full pads, and
right.
I doubt anybody's doing full pads. I think this is touch football, but
right.
with game-like scenarios.
Or flag.
Yes, yeah. So that's what's happening with Smoking for Jesus. I did put in a call for those of you, for our Faith Academy fans. I did text Stephen Shipley to ask him what's happening with their 6-on-6 team. I'm waiting to hear back from him. Have not heard back from Coach Shipley just yet. As soon as we have that information, we'll have it here. I'll write something up at texaschoctalk.com.
But normally 6-on-6 is like 7-on-7.
The way that Faith Academy does it, it is.
Yes.
Yeah. It is their version, and it's it is throwing and passing the football with defensive back coverages, with secondary coverages.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's how Faith Academy has done it. Again, since Smoking for Jesus is playing two opponents where they are either hosting or traveling, they get carte blanche to do what they want. The 6-on-6 tournament, which is a big one, might be closer to what you'd see in 7-on-7.
All right.
Okay.
It's fun to watch either one. Really, if you have time and you're near a school where they're hosting, you'll like it. It goes very quickly.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Okay, so that's the 6-on-6. Do you want to start with 7-on-7?
I've got a few remarks from Coach Green, Matt Green, head coach at Llano. Was not at the games again because of my hip surgery, but against Lampasas, the Jackets split, losing 28-27 and winning 26-19. And Coach Green says that Coy Kelso had 5 acrobatic catches for touchdowns. In the 2 games against Burnet, Llano tied the Bulldogs 12-0 after being down, tied them 12-12 after being down 12-0 at the half. Then they played Burnet again and beat the Dogs 19-7. Coach Green called it dominant overall. 2 quarterbacks, Bryce Mize and Briggs Green, Coach Green's son. And it seems to me that after talking with enough folks in the last year or so, Briggs will be the starting quarterback when the season begins. The primary receivers for the Jackets include Ross Prokop, Kelso, Jackson Dillard, Miguel Hernandez did well, I'm told, and Carson Kirkendall. There's also Sam Sultanfuss. I'm not sure how much he's playing because he was injured in the final game of last year's season with the Jackets. Also an outstanding receiver. So, a good 7-on-7 in those 2 nights for Llano. Matt Green, 40 wins in 5 years with the Jackets. He's just 3 away from tying the all-time record for Jacket coaches, David Yeager with 43. So 4 wins, and he has the record. And we certainly expect more than that from Llano in 2022.
Yeah, and I had a chance to be at those 2 ball games on Monday night and really came back impressed with the Jackets. Saw everything that Coach Green had talked about regarding the improvement. And I have one story ready to go. Haven't put it on TexasChalkTalk.com yet, but I will, talking about the offseason for the Jackets, the number of lettermen they have returning, the number of starters they have returning, who has excited the coaches, which positions they're excited about. It sounds like the Jackets are just loaded in 2022.
Well,
loaded.
Jennifer told me 18 starters are coming back. I knew it was something like 20 out of the top 24 Jackets are returning. So excitement abounds. Now, Llano is losing Briggs Green's brother, Maddox, who had just an all-world year at quarterback. Well, you got to lose somebody, and it's too bad. But with all those youngsters returning, it makes it for an exciting season again in 22.
You bet. Before we close out this segment, I do want to say that fans can see the Burnet and Llano 7-on-7 teams play in live games. Both teams are at the Burnet State qualifying tournament on Saturday at Bulldog Field. Those games start at 9 a.m. Burnet is playing in one pool, and the Burnet pool includes Gatesville, McGregor, and Taylor. Llano is playing in the other pool, and that pool has Brownwood, Lorena, and Somerset. So, 9 o'clock. Don't believe there's admission. They've never charged admission before. I would be surprised. And then if that's not really what you enjoy doing, if the skill players don't excite you, in the practice field next door to Bulldog Field, Burnet is also hosting a lineman's challenge. And that's where the linemen are going to be doing their obstacle courses, the tug-of-wars, the farmer's walk. They're moving with, they're pushing sleds. So that will also be happening at the same time. Marble Falls is sending at least one team to that event. I want to say Burnet was trying to cap it at 8 teams for the Lineman's Challenge and 8 teams for the state qualifying.
All right, 2 things. Do 2 teams make it to state out of these 8?
No, only one.
Only one.
There's only one automatic qualifying bid to the state 7-on-7 tournament.
And did you catch one of the teams that Jennifer mentioned, Lorena? They walloped Lago Vista in the state semis in the 11-man football this past season and won the state championship, beating Brock in 3A.
Yeah, I thought you were going to nail me on the Marble Falls Mustangs. That's why I had to do the customary wink to the camera. I figured you were going to say, did y'all catch that, Jennifer? I had to throw in something about the Mustangs.
No. You throw in anything you want. It's Jennifer's podcast.
Well, I did want to make mention of that here for this segment about these 2 teams and to give football fans, because I can say this. I don't know that you have, because you've been dealing with your health. Everywhere I go, people want to talk football. Okay? Everywhere I go, people want to talk football. So I have promised readers, listeners, people who know me that we would go heavy on football once the spring sports wrapped up. I am living up to my guarantee that we would go heavy football the rest of May and well into June.
And I agree with that so much that in the Horseshoe Bay Beacon, I have one story that comes out Thursday. That's May 26th. And the story is that I don't think the professional golfers should be putting that stripe on the golf ball. That is recent. That's in recent years. They've been doing that. They think it lines up the putt better. I think it's absurd that the ball would be marred and the players, as if they need any more help in shooting 8 under par. And you'll have to read the rest of the story in the Beacon.
Okay. All right. Check out TexasChalkTalk.com for all of the information on what's happening with the 7-on-7 and so forth. We're going to close this segment out, and then we are going to come back. We still got to finish up one more sport. That's my overlook because I host in the 3rd segment here on the Broad Podcaster. I'm Jennifer Fierro with Art Dlugach. Please stay with us.